Today, I'm going to explain an action sci-fi movie called The Anomaly. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film is set in a futuristic world where significant advances in science and technology have been made. In the opening scene, we see a man named Ryan Reeve waking up in the back of a moving van. As he tries to figure out where he is, he notices a young boy named Alex who is tied up and crying. The boy begs for help, so Ryan frees him and asks what happened. Alex then reveals that some people murdered his mother and kidnapped him. When asked about the kidnappers, he says he couldn't see their faces because they were wearing red masks. Shortly after, the van comes to a halt, so the two immediately get out into the futuristic city of London. They begin running away from there while the kidnappers pursue them. They soon come across a cemetery where Alex gets injured in the leg. The two then stop to rest and hide behind a tree. After this, Alex asks Ryan how he got here, but the latter has no idea. He is surprised that they are even in London because the last thing he remembers is being at the Hibiscus Trauma Center in the United States. He explains that he was there to get treatment for his PTSD. Ryan then checks his watch and is surprised to see that it is June 7th. This leaves him puzzled since the last time he went to sleep, it was January. Moments later, their kidnapper, a man named Harkin, arrives at the cemetery, searching for them. He calls his partner in crime, but the phone surprisingly rings in Ryan's pocket. A shocked Ryan checks his jacket and pulls out a gun and a red mask. Seeing this, Alex is terrified and accuses him of killing his mother. Ryan denies it, but the boy keeps screaming, which catches Harkin's attention. Ryan is so overwhelmed by the situation that he experiences severe pain in his neck and passes out. In the following scene, he awakens in a remote cabin filled with books. He looks at the watch and is shocked to see that the date is June 17th. Ryan doesn't recall what happened over the past 10 days and becomes very worried about Alex. Moments later, Harkin approaches him and begins discussing a project as if they were partners. Ryan also pretends to go along with it so that he can learn about their plans. On the wall, there are pictures of various targets they plan to eliminate. Among them is also a picture of Alex, which worries Ryan greatly. He then inquires what they intend to do with the boy. However, this only makes Harkin realize that he mistook Ryan for someone else. The two begin to fight, but Harkin tells him that it will soon be 9 minutes and 47 seconds, after which his time will run out. He then restrains Ryan until the time limit, at which point the latter loses consciousness again. In the next scene, Ryan finds himself in a brothel, having fun with an escort named Dana. He becomes confused and immediately gets out of bed. Ryan gets to know that it is already July 5th now, but he's not sure what happened in between. He then asks Dana to get dressed because they need to rescue a kid named Alex. She responds that her boss Sergio won't allow her to leave, but Ryan says he'll deal with him. While they exit the room, Ryan asks why Dana works here. She reluctantly admits that her son Eden was sick and she didn't have the money to pay for his treatment. The boy has already passed away, but she still has significant debts to settle with Sergio. Hearing her story, Ryan feels bad and promises to help free her. Soon they arrive at the main hall, where Ryan informs Sergio that he's taking Dana. The pimp expectedly refuses and sends his men to attack our hero, but Ryan makes easy work of them and escapes the brothel with Dana. Later, when Ryan reaches the city, he's shocked to find himself in New York. He's confused because the last time he was awake, he was in London. Ryan then recalls that each time he gains consciousness, he has about 9 minutes and 47 seconds to get things done. After that, he passes out and his body is controlled by someone else. Moments later, Sergio manages to find him and starts shooting indiscriminately, but Harkin arrives to his rescue. Before Ryan can react, he feels severe pain in his neck and again passes out. Next, he awakens in a room where two detectives, Richard and Travis, are waterboarding a man named Leonid. The officers then turn their attention to Ryan and address him as doctor. They inquire whether they should continue or stop torturing Leonid. However, Ryan has no idea what they're talking about. Moments later, the detectives notice Ryan has a gun and suddenly turn to attack him. They engage in a fierce fight, but Ryan manages to injure and knock them out. Hearing the commotion, another officer arrives, but Leonid grabs a gun and shoots him. Following this, Ryan speaks with Leonid and discovers that he is a scientist. He inquires whether there is technology that allows one to control control other people's minds. Leonid confirms that it is possible through droning, which involves implanting a device in the host's neck. After a while, Ryan's time runs out and he begins to pass out again. This makes Leonid panic, and he starts asking random questions like how to escape this place and where Dr. Langham is. In the next scene, Ryan wakes up in a lab where he sees Harkin speaking with Leonid. The latter thanks Harkin for helping him escape and bringing him to the lab where he can work peacefully. He then hands over his creation, a new virus capable of changing the world. It turns out he created an airborne pathogen that alters DNA and causes subjects to develop extra organs. Leonid intends to extort money from the government by threatening to release it. "Joke's on you," says President Biden. "Extra organs sound good to me, Jack." However, Harkin reveals that he isn't interested in threatening the government or earning profit. He claims that he has bigger plans and no longer needs Leonid, as he already has all his work. He then shows Leonid a video in which we see Ryan. Although he is a completely different personality from the usual one, this Ryan informs Leonid that he murdered his wife and kidnapped his son Alex. He also threatens to kill the boy if Leonid fails to follow their orders. Hearing this, the scientist has no choice but to cooperate with them. Meanwhile, Ryan is taken aback by the video, as he doesn't recall saying such things. Later, he sneaks around the facility and discovers Dr. Langham, who is Harkin's father. He is enclosed in a glass case with multiple sensors connected to his brain. Ryan recognizes the old man because he was the director of the trauma center he used to attend. At this point, it finally dawns on him that Dr. Langham is controlling his body through the implanted device in his neck. However, there is occasional interference due to connectivity issues, during which Ryan gets 9.5 minutes to be his true self. Just then, he loses consciousness again, and upon awakening, finds himself in a cabin. He notices Harkin sleeping peacefully in a chair, and then logs onto a nearby computer. There, Ryan watches an old interview with a reporter featuring himself and Dr. Langham. We then find out that Ryan was once in the military and experienced traumatic situations, but when he lost his wife in an accident, he was completely devastated. That is when he visited the trauma center for treatment of his PTSD. In the interview, Dr. Langham promotes his center and discusses Ryan's progress as a result of his treatment. The interviewer then asks him about his BioWare technology experiments and how he has used several human subjects in his research. However, Dr. Langham refuses to respond to these questions and abruptly ends the interview. Following this, Ryan wakes up Harkin and addresses him as a son. The two share a drink and discuss their projects. Harkin also doesn't suspect anything and continues to speak with him as if he is his father. However, when Ryan asks where they have kept Alex, he becomes suspicious. He realizes Ryan has figured out their ploy and begins to fight him, but the former soldier easily overpowers him and flees into the streets of New York. After a while, Ryan comes across Dana and asks what she's doing here. Before she can respond, Sergio and his minions show up to capture him. They believe Ryan is a rich guy and plan to extort money from him. However, at this point, our hero loses consciousness again. Sometime later, Ryan wakes up and finds himself back in the brothel, where Harkin has arrived with money to release him. Sergio happily accepts the money, but he is still reluctant to let Ryan go. As a result, a fight breaks out, during which Ryan and Harkin end up killing many thugs. Moments later, Sergio's minions shut Harkin out of the brothel and lock the door. This leaves Ryan in a dire situation, forcing him to fight them alone. Sergio eventually gets a hold of him and is about to kill him, but Dana shows up in the nick of time and fatally shoots her boss. Following this, Ryan and Dana take the money and sneak out of the window. He then gives her the money, saying it can change her life, and she won't have to be an escort anymore. Dana is deeply touched by his kindness and invites him to join her, but Ryan says that he must save Alex. He warns her to stay away from him because the next time she sees him, he might be someone else. Just as Dana leaves, several cops arrive and arrest Ryan, who loses consciousness once more. In the following scene, he awakens on a plane where the same two agents agents Richard and Travis are torturing him. They demand to know Leonid's location, which Ryan is unaware of. The agents explain that Leonid is extremely dangerous and that his virus is wreaking havoc on humans, causing them to grow extra lungs. That is not what President Biden was hoping for. Ryan reveals that Dr. Langham controls his body and mind, and he doesn't know anything about Leonid. But the officers don't believe his story and prepare to shoot him if he doesn't provide any info. However, before they can take action, Harkin appears on another plane and attacks them. He destroys the rear door of the plane, causing Detective Travis to be blown away. Ryan tries his best to stay alive, but he loses consciousness once again. He later wakes up in a van with his hands tied. Ryan pretends to be Dr. Langham and tells Harkin how proud he is of the work he's done. He then asks to be released from his handcuffs, which Harkin obliges with. However, as they embrace, Ryan swiftly attacks him and handcuffs him instead. Following this, Ryan pours gas on himself and Harkin, intending to kill them both. But when he attempts to light the match, it does not ignite. He goes outside to look for a lighter, but realizes they're in the middle of nowhere. When he returns, he finds Harkin has already freed himself from the cuffs and escaped. Later, Ryan finds a lighter in the front seat and decides to unalive himself so that no one can use him anymore. At this moment, Dana arrives out of nowhere and stops him. She reveals that she has been following him for a few days and monitoring his activities. Dana explains that no one has ever been as kind to her as Ryan has, so she wants to help him find Alex. Ryan is touched by her words, but he also knows that his time is running out. Therefore, he asks her to handcuff him for the time being. In the next scene, Ryan wakes up in a basement with his hands tied. He sees a question from Dana on the wall asking for her son's name. He then texts her Eden, which makes her realize that he has woken up. Shortly after, she enters the basement and informs him that it's been 3 days since they last spoke. They decide to use this time to rescue Alex and suspect that he is inside Harkin's facility. Ryan then sneaks into the facility while Dana waits for him outside. She is really being helpful. Upon reaching the lab, Ryan is shocked to see Leonid's dead body. At this moment, Detective Richard shows up, but it turns out to be Dr. Langham in his body. Ryan confronts him, asking why he did this, as he used to look up to and admire the doctor. Langham reveals that with this invention he can now control the entire world, and asks Ryan not to take it personally. However, Ryan shoots Langham dead. And continues to explore the lab. He took it personally. He soon finds a container where Alex is locked inside and trapped. He tries to free the boy, but Harkin suddenly shows up with Dana, holding a lethal injection to her neck. She wasn't helpful at all. He demands Ryan surrender, or he will kill her. This scares our hero, and he pretends to give up. But then, he notices a container of hazardous substances and shoots at it. The chemical directly falls on Harkin's hand, causing it to burn. The two men then get into a brutal fight, but in the end, more chemicals begin to pour and directly hit Harkin's face, resulting in his death. Following this, Ryan realizes his time is running out, so he asks Dana to release the boy. He doesn't want to be anyone's toy anymore and tries to shoot himself. However, Dana moves his hand, causing him to shoot a wall instead. The wall collapses and reveals Dr. Langham in a glass case behind it. Ryan doesn't waste any time and shoots the old man in the head. Shortly after, he also experiences severe pain in his neck and loses consciousness. In the final scene, our protagonist wakes up in a bed, feeling confused about where he is. Dana arrives and informs him that they are in her hometown. She reveals that she has removed the implant from his neck and stitched him up. Why didn't they do that before? Ryan then notices Alex in the living room, making him extremely happy. The movie ends as he and Dana share a romantic kiss, indicating the start of a new relationship. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.